Thank you very much, everybody, for coming today. As you all know, in the AI era, we have gone through fundamental changes in cybersecurity. It's no longer humans versus humans, it's AI versus AI. And today, I am super grateful to have my three partners and friends join me on stage today to talk about agentic SOC, and Eric, Jeremy, and Raju. And I think these three partners all have something in common. One, they're mission-driven, right? I joined Google because we want to give good the advantage. And all three of these partners share the same mission. And that's what they do every day. They do across companies of different sizes, from Fortune 50 all the way down to mom-pop shops, because this is what they believe in. Second is they've all been with us since the very beginning when we were Chronicle. And they really help us shape the product on what it is today. Without these three partners, we would not be where we are today. I think the three thing is all three partners have invested heavily in data, machine learning, was before AI, on building an autonomous SOC. And obviously now with agentic SOC, there are what we consider the pioneers in this space. Okay, so that's sort of a background. My name is Wunan. I run the Google Cloud Security ecosystem. And I'm going to turn over to Eric to do a self-introduction about yourself and about your company.
Thanks, Wunan, and truly a pleasure to be here. Eric Foster, I am the founder, chief executive of TENEX.AI. We are the cybersecurity solutions provider that leads with AI-native security operations built on the Google ecosystem.
My name is Jeremy Hehl. I'm Chief Evangelist for Foresite Cybersecurity. We are a premier partner within that Google Cloud Security ecosystem. We are specialists in terms of migration, adoption, building a fabric through AI that integrates technologies across the Google security portfolio and allows for seamless integrations for security operations.
My name is Raju Chekuri. I'm President and CEO of Netenrich, Inc. in San Jose. Thanks, Wunan, for your kind introductions to all of us. Our approach to cybersecurity operations, we're obsessed about operations, is very engineering-driven. We believe threat-driven approach takes us thus far, but we feel once you know your attack surface first, and then you know your controls, then you can do a lot of stuff about threat hurting you or not. So our approach is data science-led. So this whole AI revolution now is coming in very handy to kind of speed up our growth, and super excited to kind of share some ideas with you guys as well.
Awesome. We'll get started. We'll have some fun. Okay, we'll start off with a set of questions, and then we'll go to the room for Q&A. The cyberspace, Raju, starts with you, right? The cyber landscape have changed drastically. What are some of the challenges that you see in the traditional SOC, and why do we need to change?
Yeah, I think, like I said a little earlier, we've been at cyber for about 7 years now. Before that, we were more on the network and systems management and SRE and trying to make your workloads really work, applications really work. So, I kind of joke around, if you pull the plug and there's no network, there's no cyber issue. Mm-hmm. So if you don't know your infrastructure, if you don't know your attack surface, if you don't know your controls, what threat matters, right? It's like being in the house. Rain is outside, lots of threats outside, and you're inside the house, it doesn't really matter. But if there's a hole in the roof, it's an issue. So the idea is you got to be very situationally aware, instead of just processing alerts and being the efficiency game, right? The more you're situationally aware, you can be ahead of adversaries. So that's the whole fundamental concept of what we've been working. So we had to go put a data science team and a security team and an operations team all together to solve this complex problem. Otherwise, you will always behind the 8-ball, trying to chase the efficiencies. You can throw AI on it, you can agent on it, but if you're doing the same old way, you're not going to get ahead. So that was a big change. We started 6 years ago, and Google Stack is really, really helping us scale that, because I don't worry about platform scale. It's a planet scale, planet search, is all that makes us happy to kind of really build what we're building.
Thank you. Jeremy, what was not possible before? You've been a defender for years now, right? What are some of the things that you were not able to accomplish as a defender now is possible with AI?
I'm assuming that everybody in the room, and thank you for coming, is a security practitioner interested in cybersecurity in some way. Many of you probably have had a very tenured career in that space. I think the evolution of cybersecurity into an agentic framework is allowing us to synthesize massive sets of telemetry specifically. There's an ever-increasing curve up and to the right in data, devices, things that need to be aggregated, observability. What we're seeing from that keynote on the stage here with Google is that at a very near future state, we will be able to use agentic capabilities to be able to reach into those data stores at rest. One of those changes, to answer your question, is around the efficiency and time to response specifically for our personnel. The ability to aggregate that information from different repositories, use agents to reach into those frameworks or those ecosystems, different clouds, for example, pull back that context, make an evaluation around that context, enrich and add more, and then provide that to our SOC analysts is something that we simply could not have done before. And if any of you have worked in a SOC or currently work in a SOC.
I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, first of all. But that idea of working in the SOC and finding a thread or responding to an alert where you had to go triage and you had to investigate and you had to go to multiple panels, multiple windows in order to return that result is now something that's being consolidated through this framework and agentic utilization. Time to value, time to speed, time to response, everything is enhanced, and we're doing that better today.
Wow, thank you. So Eric, now it's AI versus AI. What does it mean for humans, analysts, the platform specialists in the SOC? How does their role evolve?
It's a great question, and I find myself increasingly contrarian these days. I find myself giving a lot of speeches about a lot of different viewpoints on the world, and one of them is this, that AI is not coming for your jobs. And it is amazing to me the AI doomerism that exists. Maybe not here as much in Google Cloud, at Google Cloud Next, where I think maybe a lot of us are maybe a little more forward. But when you go out into the world, you hear a lot of perception that AI is coming for everybody's jobs and everything's going to go down and man, we're all going to die. And maybe that latter is true, but the rest of it, AI has made us better and faster and more productive than ever. And when you talk about the role of the human in the SOC in any of this, one, it's been our fundamental foundation from day one here at 10X. The whole idea, the name of the company was that our people were an order of magnitude better, faster, more cost effective than the competing legacy approaches to security operations. And it's because we're truly AI native. But if you do that math, if you go, and this is the greatest example I think you can give is developers. Like I've had this conversation with too many executives who go like, oh man, I would hate to be a software engineer right now and like, your job's gonna go away. So let me give you just a fundamental math problem. When you're a business owner and you hire a software engineer, you generally do it with an ROI in mind, right? I'm gonna pay this person $150,000, $300,000, whatever, depending on where they live in the world, and they're gonna produce, say, $1 million of business impact for me. If you 10x that person through artificial intelligence, which is probably an underestimation for what things like Gemini can do for a software engineer, right? If that software engineer that you pay $300,000 produces $10 million of impact to your business instead of $1 million, do you hire more software engineers or do you hire less? If you're a poorly run company, if you're scared, you hire less people because you go, oh man, I can accomplish the same amount of work with less. What we're doing, we're hiring more. We're hiring incredibly aggressively. We're building, in my opinion, the biggest cybersecurity services company to ever exist because in the age of AI, people matter more than ever.
Yeah. Staying with you, can you give us a concrete example of how one of your customers realized the benefit of everything you just talked about?
Yeah, so concrete examples, to me, it's the stuff that matters. So probably a couple. One, our last Global 2000 customer we onboarded, we did a full migration from their Splunk environment from day one of contract to live in the platform in 7 days. This normally took our competitors about 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks to do. We're doing it in days. And guess what? That's not good enough. We just recently launched, you can come to our website sign up for service, and the environment and the service and the monitoring is live at the end of your sign-up process. Same day, instantaneous. But even that's not good enough, because it's not about how quick we get you on board, it's how quick we actually do the things that matter. So the things that matter, it's reduction in dwell time. It's reduction in how long the attackers are actually in your environment. And we've got a really public, really great case study we did with this great company, Sunrun, that talks about this, where literally overnight, our AI plus human approach was able to see a 97% reduction in the alerts that they were looking at. We're able to get rid of the noise, surface the things that matter, and that literally led to a 3x overnight reduction in attacker dwell time in their environment. And to me, that's the concrete example of the kind of stuff that matters.
Yeah, that's a great example. And what set of a business outcome, right? That's great. Can
I just address the migration piece real quick? I just want to add a little bit of context to that. Out of necessity, I think we've done migrations for customers in around a week or so, right? Typically, those ducks are all in a row. I think it is possible to get to a point where through agentic synthesis, those kinds of activations of those environments are possible. When you look at these multi-cloud industries, geographically disparate companies, you may lose credibility with saying that those things at that scale could be done within 7 days. I'm not saying that it's not possible, but I'm saying that those integrations at that scale produce significant challenges. And I would love to see that happen, right? For me, I think that the idea of there being an activated service that is deployed through this agentic model and what you folks are doing is really interesting. I also wanted to talk about the productivity thing real quick, if I could just chime in.
Sure, yeah.
I've heard you say before Jevons paradox, right? It's a French philosopher, 17th century, the idea of the Industrial Revolution, coal, machinery, increasing productivity. The expectation was that there was this Luddite sentiment, right, that was kind of out there. And the apocalyptic doom and gloom thing is a very real sentiment for a lot of people as it pertains to artificial intelligence. However, I think the expectation of our people has also dramatically increased because of the tools that are at their fingertips. And then, as leaders of the business, we're seeing that increase in productivity across those tools be turned back in for better outcomes for our clientele.
No, for sure. And I mean, what you're talking about, we're going to make this a
let's have some fun.
No, I love it, right? We're all among friends here, and we're going to,
for sure.
So I completely agree with you. And in fact, the big part of this, when you talk about the productivity gains, it's this combination, and it goes back to your original question of like, what is the role of the human in the SOC in this future world? If AI does 97, 98, 99% of the work, there's still that percentage that's incredibly important for the human.
Yep.
And that's where we find we put our best people, and why we're hiring more and more best people, it's to work on the parts that are incredibly complex, incredibly long running. Even that same thing, even to your point of like a super complex migration environment. As you well know, like 80, 90% of that work might be super easy, and then it's the 5, 10, it's even the Pareto principle.
It's the optimization.
80% of it gets done in 20% of the time, and it's that last 20% that's really hard. And so you put the people on that from day one that can go drive that, and that's how you get that massive compression.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Going to Raju, transitions are always hard. I talk a lot about customers. They know they need to move to agentic SOC, but what's on top of their mind is cost, complexity, will this work, and getting confidence. So maybe give us an example how you were able to take a skeptical customer who is unsure to someone who's fully realizing the benefit.
Yeah, so I was listening to this gentleman here. I was going to jump in, but I thought, my focus is not implementation, so I thought I'll stay out of the conversation. But the issue is many of you who are using SOCs or NOCs, or you've been told by many vendors, my tool is the best tool, my SOC is the best one. So my request to you is you measure once or twice or thrice, because you want to embark on a journey of transformation. You don't want to do the same old thing a little better. You don't want to do the same old thing a little faster, right? You got to sit down and think really hard. In this day and age, can I think data? Can I get machines to work on it? Can I augment people to kind of look at it on the loop or in the loop? But you got to be extremely deliberate. You got to have an intent. If you don't have an intent trying to get into this agentic world, you'll be dead. And it has happened a number of times, right? When new technologies come, put an agent here, put an agent here, put an agent here, you'll have a lot more noise than you ever had in your life, and you wouldn't even know what to do with it. So you got to be extremely careful, and you got to think data science. You got to think grounds up transforming, and you may not even have to call it a SOC. You know, almost even SOC is dead in some sense, right? You got to rethink it. Don't look back. Don't look at Gartner and look back and who's in which quadrant, right? You got to rethink how you're going to go forward. So when we walk into customers, we try to understand what outcomes do you want to drive? What do you want to be protected? What are your assets? How do you organize those assets? What controls do you have? What are you doing? How is your team? Don't push me on feeds and speeds. Don't tell me go implement in 7 days or 1 week or 2 weeks kind of a thing. I'm glad we did that because out of 40 enterprise customers we have, every single one is a reference for us. Cohesity, Veritas, Citrix, Netscaler, TIBCO, Jaspersoft, Juniper, HPE, right? So name them, right? So we are very, very deliberate because we commit to an outcome. Outcome is not selling another gadget for you. We are to live with you every single day. And you stick your neck out for us, committing that you're going to transform. And if I can't come through, it's not worth having a relationship. So we're very, very extremely deliberate. It's a transformation game. It's a change game. It's difficult to do. It's not that easy. So if I come and tell you, I'll do this in a week's time and I'll throw a bunch of agents because Google is giving me a bunch of stuff, I'll be lying. So be careful, measure twice. We'll all do a great job. But I think you really want to think yourself that do I want to transform? Do I want to get to this new world? And can I rethink it? That requires people to change, your processes change, who does what. You need probably more engineers and architect to architect your security, less of operations folks because the agents can do some of the work. So it's a kind of rebuilding of your system a little bit. So think to this, like I keep saying, measure once or twice or thrice before you cut. So that's
Raju, you make such a great point in that I think so many people are going to experience the problem side of this without the right help and guidance that I know you guys are so fantastic at bringing. You know, one of the oldest things we talk about in automation in general, you automate a bad process, all you get is faster mistakes.
Yes.
And you know, I think we've seen that in a lot of people who've tried to do that without that level of expert guidance that you guys are so great at bringing of like, man, you come in and just throw AI at a problem without knowing the data structure and exactly what you're trying to do. And it's like just, oh great, I just burned a bunch of tokens on making a lot.
Just to add to this, just an example, when we walk in, everyone asks us, do you have SOAR playbooks? Do you have SOAR playbooks? Do you have SOAR? How many do you have? How many rules do you have? Blah, 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 right? So it takes a while to kind of really understand why do you need a SOAR playbook? Do you need it for orchestration or automation? Can you automate left shifted? If you automate early in the game through data science, you probably don't need to automate too late in the game. Maybe SOAR becomes an orchestration game more than automation game. So these are some fun, I'll give you just 1 out of 20 examples like this that we question from a grassroots standpoint. And once you get that right, it's music. It becomes really, really nice to go work and kind of solve problems and stay ahead. And it's going to get worse with adversaries using AI. They have massive intent. And the other thing I keep saying to my team is, if you really look at operations folks like deterministic world. It's a P0, P1, P2, Sev 1, Sev 2, house is on fire, go put it off, and there's a Windows problem, there's a network problem, there's a security problem, there's an attack, phishing happening. So once you get that P0 priority, we jump into a great job. But if something is not happening, you know, we're just kind of twiddling our thumb and just waiting for something to happen. So how do you take those guys to kind of look at things before bad things happen to you? And that's a probabilistic world. If you don't quantify this probabilistic world through data science, through agents and everything else we got to use for machine learning and all, you just can't change the game. You can't left shift it. So rethink, whatever you guys do, whenever you buy SecOps. And I think we love it because it allows us to scale at planet scale. It's amazing. I don't worry about Chronicle. I don't worry about threat intel. I don't worry about BigQuery. Everything is there. It works all the time, 24/7, 365 at a very affordable price. So I can do a lot of magic in the data science world. So keep you protected.
I think if you allow me to turn it into a tiny commercial
worries.
for you, like really, truly, and I know we've got a wide audience here of a lot of different levels of practitioners and even those who've adopted or who are evaluating Google Cloud. And I would just say one thing, which is, and I might be preaching to the choir a little bit, but forgive me, I so fundamentally believe that if you're focused on trying to modernize your security program and you're not at least very strongly considering building that around this hyperscaler that has the native AI integrations, that has the compute, that has the storage, that has all this experience. If you're not looking at partnering with Google Cloud as the foundation of your cybersecurity program, you are making a mistake. And I would also say, if you're not doing it with the help of a fantastic Google Cloud partner, it doesn't even have to be the three of us, just to not even talk my book, but like this is an era where things are moving so fast. There's so much advantage. There's so much opportunity to change and to adopt this ecosystem. You don't have to do it alone. There's a great partner network of this partner ecosystem of Google Cloud partners, us three, several others that I really strongly recommend you take advantage of.
Oh, thank you very much, Eric. I talked to many of our customers, and all of them want to adopt agentic SOC. But the common question is they see AI agents as not a tool, but more as a coworker, digital coworker, right? And anytime you introduce a new coworker into your working environment, it's about trust. How do you build trust within this new set of the digital coworkers? So this is a question for all three of you. Like, what are you doing to help making that transition easier? How do you build trust with these agents and all the analysts in the SOC?
Yeah, I think one thing that Raju pointed out earlier that's so very insightful, it's all about transparency and metrics. I mean, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but it's about transparency and metrics and how you sort of track and measure all of that. The visibility, the compute that is possible now, we can measure things that we were never even remotely possible to measure before. Yeah. Even you sort of touched on this. Like, so many things were not possible 5 years ago or 10 years ago that now it's like we can transparently expose so many things that you weren't able to do in the SOC and your security program. I think transparency is a big part of that. Metrics is a big part of that. But you hit on a very insightful point to that, which is treat agents like coworkers. And one of the biggest mistakes I've seen of somebody who tried to build their own sort of agentic SOC before they called us was they built one AI agent that did everything in security for them. And it's like, think about this, guys. Like, that's not what you do. It's not how you approach things in a even in a technical world. It's right. You don't go build one role in the SOC that goes and does everything.
Sure.
It's not efficient. So,
yeah.
Approaching it like that has been very effective for us.
Yeah, segregation is very important even for agents, right? Jeremy, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think the word trust is the core principle of everything that we do as a managed security service provider. Without trust, we don't ever get to that point where we're discussing technologies. Mm-hmm. Without trust, it's very difficult for us to implement secure systems by design or get them to integrate or utilize your technologies. The way that we're getting trust in the agentic era right now is by incorporating them into the things or the flows within the service that is most critical, where I think they're most adept. Right now what we're seeing is, I feel like we had just mastered orchestration and automation as a platform, and now we are beginning to shift into the deprecation of that technology in favor of something else. And the way we've intentionally designed this is by integrating agentic capabilities into those orchestration and automation workflows, by removing some of the drudge from the engineer to call out to an agent to perform a function that an agent could perform better than a human, return those results back, and compound the utilization of both of those platforms. At some point, code-based workflows will become deprecated, and that code can be spun up on the fly to be utilized by an agent. And at that point, you're actually removing some of the capability of the engineer or the requirement of that engineer, and going to Eric's point, repurposing them for innovation or novel, net new ways to use tools. I think trust is really critical, right? I don't know that the world is ready just yet for us to put trust in an agent in making a risk determination that fundamentally impacts my business or my operation. I do believe that we can slowly build trust with the output of those agents and still keep that risk determination with the human, right? With the business in that context. Maybe at some future state we get there reliably. I think in a lot of our experimentation with agentic frameworks, we have found that there are still consistent hallucinations, that the data matters most in what underlies those agents. Without clean data, without clean optimization, without the work to understand the use cases or the outcomes, we probably shouldn't even be using an agent. Sometimes when we get clientele, I can rattle off a long list too, by the way. But when we get clientele, I think that there is a desire from those clients to understand, how do I start using agents right now? And I can't answer that question when I first sit down with a customer. I have to understand where they are today. Google built something about 15 years ago called the CMM model, right? Capabilities and maturity model.
Yeah.
That matrix is still a guiding principle for investments, for how we're showing return on those investments. And I think Google Cloud consolidates all of that. You guys are going to win this war on the Google side, right? When we talk about other companies or hyperscalers, the acquisition of Wiz, the acquisition of Mandiant, Simplify integrations, the continued dedication to consolidation of those technologies, there is a core principle and an agnostic approach that you take to the market that gives clients the ability to create and build new things directly in that ecosystem. All of us are testaments to that possibility. We have built our companies by hitching our wagon to Google, right? And in getting that expertise and exposure to you folks, we have the ability to change the world. We take the role at Foresite Cybersecurity of Defender very, very seriously, almost to a nerdy kind of level. But I think we're extremely deliberate about the deployment of our agents, right? The idea of what we're doing should have a use case. I'll stop after this, but I want a Roddenberry style existence, right? I see agents right now as a tricorder where I can scan a rock and I know it blows up when I put it in water, right? And that is the best use case around agents right now. Doing things that eliminate drudge and add time back for innovation, for other initiatives to grow.
Thank you, Jeremy. Anything to add, Raju, from your side?
Yeah, I think this guy said it. In our case, we've been extremely careful. One is the, like you said, trust, but more on the orchestration and governance of agents, and also the cost runaways, and where you use agents, when you use agents, why you use agents, right? So we kind of broke it into 3 different categories. We have data engineering, that's where we use a lot of the work, because the more heavy lifting you do to understand your data, your life is going to be a lot easier. So we spend a lot of time, and that's where we have human in the loop to kind of make sure those agents are doing what they're supposed to do. And then your detection engineering, we have agents for that, and response engineering pieces to kind of make it more tangible and easy to orchestrate and govern this. But then as you go up into inferences, as we create from UDM to operating data model to knowledge base, we use human on the loop kind of a thing to kind of infer more stuff. So we kind of organize ourselves, and I'm sure we're waiting for AGI someday, and all this will fall apart. And so in the meantime, we've been very, very deliberate how we run agents, because you want predictable cost as well. Agents sound sexy, and you don't want to get another $100,000 bill a year on agents, and you're saying, what's going on here, right? So we got to be very careful. So that's what I said. As you know, the intent, the outcomes you want to drive, you want to be more situationally aware. You will put all this to bear for the right reasons. So we've been very careful on that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
And it's so interesting to me to just close this point out too, that you've got 3 companies up here that represent 3, I think, very different approaches to the market, and it's actually a great thing.
Yeah, it's great.
When I first looked at this panel, I was actually like, oh man, this is like going to be fireworks. You're going to put 3 competitors up here. It's going to get super
by design.
spicy. Yeah, but at the same time, a couple points. Like one, it's a huge market. There's a lot of different room for a lot of different approaches, and it's also great, I think, to have those different approaches and bring them to the customer to go, there is a classic customer. Raju and Netenrich have built one of the defining companies in cybersecurity services. You absolutely have. I mean, you've been at this 15 years, a long time, right? I mean, they've built one of the greatest companies in the history of cybersecurity services in a in a world that's littered with corpses of people who've not had your staying
and
power.
without raising money.
There you go.
That's why we sustain this longer. The reason I raise money, I'll be all over you trying to close the deal this quarter.
Right.
We don't do that.
That's amazing. And you guys take that very data-centric, very intentional, very, I would say proscriptive approach to your customers that I think is very important. And you guys have a very different approach too, compared to where we sit. And there's, what I would just say again to everybody is there's an amazing Google Cloud partner ecosystem that can help you with this. You don't have to go it alone. Like, this is very much a, live together, die alone circumstance and AI-driven transformation of security. It is possible. It is here. We can help. The collective we.
Yes.
The entire collective we.
Yes, thank you. Couldn't say it even better. Last question before we go to the audience for Q&A. Where at Google Cloud Next, right? As a security practitioners, as founders, as partners, where do you see this thing go in the next 6 to 12 months? I mean, we can start with Raju and go this way, please.
Yeah. When I was just kind of talking to my team and telling Preston earlier, I feel this Google Next, with the kind of innovation Google is bringing, is a behemoth. And for us to keep up, we got to get very, very focused. We can't come to you and say, I can do Microsoft Sentinel or Splunk and 100 other things. We got to be so obsessed about one thing, and we chose Google. So we're planning on shutting down RSA for ourselves, right? So we were so obsessed trying to make this work. There's so much to be done now, and our big worry is, are we quick enough? Are we fast enough? Are we investing enough? Not the sales and marketing. This is the R&D piece. We're obsessed about building and staying in tune with what Google is innovating from at a rapid pace. You saw all that stuff from the keynote. So, Google Next is going to be our primary focus now, and all Google stuff. So. Super excited. Like Eric was saying, all three of us and many others have different approaches, right? You have PwCs of the world, they have big companies, Accentures of the world, they have big companies, and then many of us are trying to go build innovation. But we are all obsessed at Google Stack, as enabling us to build what we want to build and what we dream of building. It's a dream for a data science guy, a security guy, and a SRE guy to come together and build something that was not built in the past, right? So that's excitement for us.
Yeah. Thank you.
So we'll be,
Jeremy, what do you see in the next 6 to 8 months?
In reference to the agentic SOC, right? I think some of the hype has died down, but there is a certainty about innovation in that AI string, right? What is coming will continue to change the planet across every industry. Cybersecurity will not be unaffected by that. In fact, it already is. I think our duty and what we do at Foresite is really centered on a fanatical approach to the experience for clientele. We know that the privilege of having that Google partnership puts us in a situation where we get to act as a Sherpa through the valley in some of these transformational journeys for our customers, for our joint customers. I think that there's innovation that continuously shows up every day, something new, some new capability, some new model makes an old SaaS product irrelevant, some new model release makes an AI company irrelevant. It happens, right? And the only companies on the planet that are capable of doing that are the Anthropics, the Googles, the Microsofts that really push out that capability, right? There are many, many other AI companies out there. I think the agentic SOC is going to be a full-on reality in the next 12 months, in the semblance that a number of the core functions at a tier 1 level are now being fully handled in a fully autonomous way. A lot of the investigations, the data aggregation, the ability to reach into model context protocol, the ability for cloud providers to say that you can use your agent, bring your own, go one direction, query that data, pull it back. It's going to create a shift in the way that we structure cybersecurity services and the way that platforms are adopted. I'm very excited about it. I think that you are definitely leading the charge at Google. I think we made the right bet many years ago, Eric and I, when we were working at the same place, and now with Foresite, certainly. It's exciting times ahead, Wunan.
Yeah, thank you.
That's what I would say.
Thank you very much. Eric?
Man, I couldn't disagree more with several of the things you said, but with much love and respect, and also to the, there are many different approaches to this. I think the agentic SOC is already here. I can prove it to you in about 2 minutes. We've got full end-to-end agents that can go triage better, provably better than a human, 100% of your alert telemetry in 45 seconds. But that's not good enough. So what is next? What is really, truly next? The attackers are faster than they've ever been. And we're fielding calls from a lot of people where the reality of detection and response used to be you had minutes, hours, sometimes days to respond to threats. It's measured in seconds now. And especially the pace of vulnerability that we see being exploited in the real world, the patches are coming. If I could tell people one thing to go change in your security program right now is figure out how to apply patches faster than you've ever done.
Right.
Because there are going to be more patches probably in the next 6 months than there have been in the entirety of human history. And that's not an exaggeration.
27 yesterday for Mozilla.
So because the AIs are so good at writing code, they're also so good at understanding the vulnerabilities, they're so good at reverse engineering code. And guess what? Every time one of those patches gets released, the bad guys take the patch, reverse engineer it, find the vulnerability, and have the ability to attack it instantaneously. So this used to be it was okay, if you could take this much time to do this. It's not anymore. It's got to move faster. Everything has to move faster. And at the same time, I would even say, with love and respect, there's a difference in approach for different people. Because the market is not ready. I'm not going to take 100% of the customers tomorrow. The market is not ready for full AI-driven agentic SOC. We still believe the human in the loop is super important, but the reason there's 3 different approaches here, it makes sense for the market. There's different companies that want these different approaches, and I think what's next is companies like ours helping all of the customers stay ahead of this incredible pace of threats.
Triaging an alert is one thing. End-to-end workflows and response and risk determination, I don't think we're there yet.
We are.